All right, welcome back. It's our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. And this comes from Fox Sports talking about Pat Freiermuth. He led everyone, all receivers, tight ends, running backs in yards this week. Receiving yards, I'm talking about 120. Andrew, I thought that was a concerted effort to go to the middle of the field, specifically him, but also other tight ends too. I would expect guys like Hayward and Darnell Washington to get a few more targets here and there. But man, Pat Freiermuth, this is the best game I think I can recall. They never really targeted him all that much in any of his previous games over the last couple of years, but this was a big day for him.
Yeah, and if you were to listen to Mike Tomlin's press conference today here on KDKA Plus, you would have thought that Pat Freiermuth got Matt Canada fired, because Mike Tomlin said a couple of times that it had nothing to do with a philosophical change to go to him and to use the middle of the field so much, or to go to the middle of the field. It was not something that they drew up. It was merely because Freiermuth was finally healthy, that because they had that guy at 100%, Kenny Pickett was comfortable going to him and therefore wanted to use him. He was getting open. So I thought that was interesting. Tomlin, for whatever reason, did not want to give Mike Sullivan and Eddie Faulkner credit for either emphasizing to Kenny or getting him to do it. It was more so, in Tomlin's mind, just a player going from hurt to healthy, and that's why he was so involved in this game on Sunday.
Yeah, that may make you think that maybe, again, it wasn't his decision to fire Matt Canada in the first place, so who knows? I know is that they have a big game in the next 2 weeks here, or actually 2 and 5 days, whatever it is. Two teams that have only 2 wins. You got to win both, and if you do, you put yourself in a very nice spot. Let's go to the phone lines. We have a lot of people want to talk about, specifically Deontay Johnson, and that would be Eric in Florida, who's our #1 Cochran Go One Better call of the night. Eric, you're in Florida.
Hello,
and you're
Eric.
on the air right now.
Bob, I love your show, and let's just break it down. You have Chuck Noll, right? Then we have Lynn Swan and John Stallworth. Then we have Bill Cowher and Santonio Holmes. We have Hines Ward. Then you have Mike Tomlin. You have Claypool, Juju, Deontay. You have Antonio Brown. Doesn't it show that, maybe it's the coach that is the problem here? Matt Canada's fired, but Tomlin doesn't even know that he's got fired.
Well, if you're talking about how those guys react and the whole times have changed to the point where these guys are on social media way too much, and Juju, what he did, I would have disciplined him a little bit differently, I think, at least. But these guys, he goes on stomping on logos. That to me is something as a head coach I would have stopped immediately. I wouldn't have allowed it. Some of this other stuff you can't. How are you going to stop? You can talk about it. If you want to discipline them, go ahead, but you could hurt your team at the same time. So I attribute that more to the culture. It's not just in Pittsburgh, too. You look around the league, you'll see similar stuff going on, Andrew. But when it gets to a certain point, you got to stop it, or else if you don't stop it, you'll give an invitation to others to keep doing that kind of stuff.
The people that are very pro-Steelers or pro-Tomlin in the situation will bring up Stephon Diggs in Buffalo or A.J. Brown having tension with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. Both true. But I would ask those people, do you put Deontay Johnson in the same category as those players? In that way, it's very reminiscent of Antonio Brown. Your tolerance for erratic behavior or diva behavior is higher when the guy is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I'm sorry, Deontay Johnson is not that. So for
Antonio Brown is,
play,
though, and he got a lot out of Antonio Brown, despite how some people didn't like how he treated. Bottom line was he wanted to get results, and he got results.
I don't disagree with you on that. I'm saying, though, in terms of what he's tolerated from some of these other guys, eventually they showed you, through their action, they showed you, Bob, that Chase Claypool, they were not going to put up with his antics anymore. The guy was signaling first down when a clock was running, grabbing another guy's face mask. He got traded, and it was a brilliant trade because now Joey Porter Jr. is here. So I tip my cap to them for that one. But, I do at some point want Tomlin to show, other than just what he says at his press conference, that this kind of stuff is not to be accepted. And I think you do that by taking something away from the player. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a lifetime ban or anything like that, or a full game benching. But just show us that what a player did when he quit on something, on a turnover. If that gets returned for a touchdown, Bob, everybody wants Deontay Johnson cut.
Oh, there's no question.
It could have gone that way.
It could have. Connor Hayward was very alert on that play. He broke as soon as he saw it, and he didn't hesitate, and that's why he ended up making a tackle. We got an update about the Penguins. Only 14 seconds into overtime, Pony. It was Philip Forsberg who goes the distance all the way, and apparently there was an interference that wasn't called. It was blatant, but he beats Tristan Jarry, so they lose 3-2. They got Tampa Bay coming up on Thursday. Back to the lines we go. JB in Shady Side. Hey, JB, how are you today?
Hey, JB.
Hey, what's going on? How are you guys?
We're good, thanks.
Okay, good. So Penguins. Okay, I was watching the power play. It's like all these cross rink passes. They're going for style over substance. I didn't like the Kyle Dubas hire. He's never won anything. His teams do bad in the playoffs. The Maple Leafs lack grit, and so do the Penguins. They're not going anywhere playing like this.
You know, JB, you make a good point about the power play. And at some point, if you're Mike Sullivan, I know he's made some changes. He put Zahorna on to try to mix things up. He's moved Malkin to the second unit last game just to start. But the message has to be, just break it down, make it simple. Get pucks to the net and crash nets, or take the goalie's eyes away. They do none of that on a regular basis. They make life a lot of. You can't have 12.5%, Andrew, with this group of people. This was all done to make a power play one of the best in the league. You don't bring in Carlson to go any other way. And if this is not working, then they're going to have major problems.
Well, no doubt. The frustrating part about their season is that we've now reached the quarter point of the year. They've played 21 games, and they're 10-10-1. Bob, that is a continuation of what happened last year. They were a 500 hockey team in 2022 if you add up their overtime losses. They won as many games as they lost, and that's where they're at right now. And I thought the Erik Karlsson trade was going to give them a shot in the arm, last year's Norris Trophy winner, and a guy that had over 100 points. So far, that hasn't really happened. And there's still 3/4 of the season left. And we saw them win a Stanley Cup the year in 2009 with Bilesma, where they weren't in the playoffs in February. When they won it the first year with Sullivan, they weren't a playoff team in December. So we've seen them rebound in recent years to win championships. But grading their performance so far this year, they look eerily similar to last year's Penguins, and that team wasn't good enough to make the playoffs.
Right. And to JB's point, I agree. I don't think they have enough grit either. And I'm not talking about you don't need to bring in, the Ryan Reeves type, because Mike Sullivan doesn't want him or somebody like him on the roster, but you do need people who mix it up a little. I think Tyler Kennedy's favorite word for this is sandpaper. They don't have any sandpaper on that team, and they need more.
Tyler Kennedy also said the teams that party and drink the most during the season win the Stanley Cup. That was his experience.
Well, then I would have a
So
bunch of French martinis delivered to their rooms tonight. Let's go. All right, Gary in West Elizabeth. What's up, Gary? How you doing?
Hey, Gary.
My question is the Steelers allowed to fine a player, in-house, or is their contract
No,
the
I
players'
think
union?
Andrew brought this up last night. I think that's something against Players Association and what you can do.
The CBA is so strong in these sports leagues, they don't allow that anymore.
No, but you can do different things. And I know Mike Tomlin will talk, if he hasn't already, to him and make it very clear, and they'll do it in front of the team. So it's up to it's up to Deontay Johnson to address that tomorrow. And I think he better. If he doesn't, you're right. Then there's a bigger problem.
Look, I mean, obviously, in that locker room, these guys are putting their bodies on the line. They're making sacrifices to win games and all that. So he does owe them an apology, his coach and the people that employ him and pay him $18 million. But he also owes the fans, too. I mean, we watch these games. We pay their salaries. We expect that these guys are at least going to try. And so what bugs me a little bit is, and I've already been blocked by this guy on social media, by the way, but he's got his own platform. He's had over 24 hours to just put something out there like, look, my bad. I screwed up. I'm sorry, Steelers Nation. It's never going to happen again. And maybe he will come to his senses and do that when he talks to the media, or he'll do that in the next couple of days. But he's just had ample time to put his hand in the air and look himself in the mirror and say, I screwed up. And we haven't seen that yet from Deontay Johnson, which is a little bit troubling to me.
Good point. We'll be back with more. We've got to take a break. It is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We do it 7 nights a week, so don't be a stranger. Call us at 412-575-2600.